Hello and welcome to Vectric's Christmas Toy Shop. This year at Vectric we decided to create 6 children's toy projects for you to consider making over this holiday season. These are fantastic projects, they're quick to make, and wouldn't it be wonderful if you could make one and give it away to a child in need to spread a little bit of extra festive joy this season. To start us off, I've decided to look back on my past and Christmases that I remember from when I was a child. I remember my dad giving me a small spirograph kit, and also later in life he gave one to my daughter, and we used it for quite a bit. But the thing was with that, it ended up making little tiny small spiros. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we could make even bigger ones? So that's why I came up with this larger scale spirograph. It works just like the little ones, except for it makes much bigger designs in the end. Now when I took this project on, I was a little unsure of how complicated it would get, but in the end I overcame those obstacles pretty easily. Let me show you some of those different design considerations and show you how I dealt with them. If you've never seen a spirograph before, here's one right here. What it is a series of smaller cogs that you rotate with inside a bigger cog. And while you do that, you have a pencil or a pen inserted inside of a small hole in one of those inner cogs. And as you move that around in a circle, you draw all kinds of interesting little designs. It's a great little toy, takes a little practice, but once you get it, it's a lot of fun to use. When I was thinking about this project, I thought I had an easy way out. We have a little program that we can run with inside of our software called a gadget that will create a gear for me. I thought this was going to be super simple. All I had to do was to go over to Vectric.com, go over to our Vectric community, go down to gadgets, and here's a selection of gadgets. It's important to remember that gadgets only run in our pro versions of our software or in Aspire. Now each of these gadgets are small programs that run with inside of our software. They may have been created by us or maybe by a user, but they haven't been made into a real tool that lives inside of our standard installed software. If we go into our drawing gadgets, you'll see that we have 2 gadgets that are going to come in handy for this project, or at least I thought they would. The Gear Maker and the Spiral Creator. We'll get to that a bit later. Let's have a look at the Gear Maker. When we look at this, you'll see that I can create some really nice gears with the teeth on the outside. Well, that's great, but one thing this Gear Maker doesn't do is create that larger gear with the teeth inside. I had a bit of a challenge trying to figure out how to do that, so I had to look on the internet to see if I could get some ideas. I ran into this great article by Rick Harris showing me how to make easy gears. As I read through it, I noticed that these gears were made up by using a series of circles placed on a larger circle, and then we only keep the bits that we need to make the teeth of the gear. After I read through his document and sorted out how to do this, I tried it in our software. So after reading the article, I found out that if I want to make a gear with a certain number of raised positive teeth, then all I need to do is plug in the raised number of teeth I want, and then also the diameter of the teeth that I'd like to have. And what's wonderful about this kind of a gear is it's based on a circle, which is perfect for a CNC end mill that happens to be round. Now the end mill that I'm going to use to cut this out with is going to be around 1/4 of an inch, so 0.25 an inch. I decided to round that up a little bit. That way when the tool goes inside of the inverted teeth, then the tool won't have any trouble getting in there to clean that out. So now on my example gear, I would like to make 10 raised teeth. So I need an equal number of inverted teeth. So that's why we multiply it by 2. I'm going to multiply that number by 0.26, that's the diameter of my tooth, and divide that by pi. So let's start off by drawing a tooth that is 0.26 in diameter. We're going to use our draw circle tool, and we're going to make the diameter of the circle we're going to create 0.26. I'm just going to click here in my job space, and there we have a circle with the diameter of 0.26. That's right across the center here. Let's close that down. Now let's bring up our calculator, and let's go ahead and plug in those numbers. I said I wanted to have 10 raised teeth, so 10 times 2 equals 20 times 0.26 equals 5.2, and then we're going to divide that by pi, which is going to be 3.142, and that gives us an internal circle diameter of 1.65. Let's minimize that. Let's go back over to our circle tool, and we're going to make a circle that's going to be 1.65. We're just going to click in the center of our job space, and there we have it. Let's close this down. Now all we need to do is to select this circle here, hold down our Shift key, grab this internal circle, and we're going to tell our software to copy that circle around that larger circle. We're going to copy an object. We're going to make sure we have exactly 20, because that's 10 times 2. We're going to align it on that curve, and we're going to create our copies on a new layer. We'll just click copy. And there we have it. And now just close this down and unselect everything. Now all we need to do now is go in and trim off the bits that we don't need. So using our interactive trim tool, I can select that, and I'm going to go ahead and start to trim this. We're going to get rid of that one, and this one, that one, and this one. And we're going to work our way around our circle till we get the teeth that we need. And there we have it. So let's close that down. Now these are all going to be individual half circles, but we need to connect them together. So one at a time, we're going to go around our circle and select them by holding our Shift key and the next one. And we'll go ahead and we'll connect those together. And we'll do that all the way around our gear. And there we have our finished gear. And that was pretty easy to make. So now that we've got that figured out, let's go ahead and have a look at our finished file. This is the file that I've created to cut my final Spiro Drawing Board with. When I open it up, you'll see that there's a notes page. This notes is important. It's important to look over my file because it's been built to work on my CNC machine using the tools that I had and the materials that I plan on using to cut this out with. Yours may be different, so make sure you update the file accordingly. I'm just going to click OK. Now, as you can see from the 2D view of this job, that there are two parts to this. There's a bottom and there's a top. And why they're on two different sheets is because I've formatted this to use two different thicknesses of material. The bottom will be thicker and the top will be thinner. Let's have a look at the bottom part of this project first. Now, the idea is that I'll be able to lay the bottom part down on a table, and using magnets that I'm going to insert into these little recesses here, I'll be able to click on the top. In the top of it will have the internal cog that I need to run around these inside gears. You see that I've already put in the holes for the crayons or the pencils here. If we have a look again at the bottom, you see that I also have a place to store the cogs or the gears, and I have a place to store some pencils here as well. And also a handle cut out in the top, and two little recesses here. Now these recesses are here so that you can easily get your fingers around the top of the board and pull it apart so you can put your craft paper inside and draw on it. Now if we look at the top, you'll see that I've created those three internal gears and the outside gear using that same method that we saw a minute ago with those circles. I've laid out this set of circles here using the spiral gadget that I pointed out earlier. So if I go up here to my layers, I can go ahead and turn on the layer and you'll see the spiral that I created using that gadget. You'll notice that this is VCarve Desktop that I'm showing you this in. It's not the Pro version of the software. I created this version of the file in VCarve Pro, but yet I can open it up in VCarve Desktop. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Now I've chosen to cut these gears from inside the hole here because this would be waste material and that wouldn't be great for the environment. So I'm going to use that material. Now also I have on the inside of the lid holes for the crayons. So when they fit in, they'll fit into the bottom recesses over here. And when I put on the top, there'll be space in the top so they'll tuck right inside. And the magnets will hold it all in together so you can carry it around with you. Now let's go ahead and have a look at the tooling. Let's mirror our views here so we can see in our 3D view our piece of material, and let's bring up the tool paths that I created. These are just very basic tool paths, and what they are is paths that I've created using different features of our software, so when I put a specific tool into my CNC machine, it will cut out areas in a predefined way, the way that I want them to be cut out. So let's just go ahead and look at those tool paths in 3D. Let's preview all of our tool paths. So here you go. You get a better sense of what we're coming up with. So this is the underside of the top. We have the spots for the crayons. We've got our big cogs here, or our big gears, and then we have this internal gear here. And these little pieces of wood here are called tabs, and we're going to cut those out later so we can remove this piece of our Spiro board from the waste material around the outside edge. Let's have a look at our bottom. Just double click on that and preview all the tool paths that I've created for that. And again, you'll see those pockets or those holes where we can store the cogs in or the gears in. We can store our crayons or pencil crayons in there, and these nice recesses for our magnets so they'll all click together. Now it's time to go ahead and see if my plan worked. Let's go into our labs and get this cutting on our CNC machine. Well, I had a lot of fun making that, and I learned a lot of stuff along the way. If I was ever going to make this again, a couple of things I would do differently would be I'd use a slightly thicker piece of plywood for the top of this. This was a bit thin and ended up warping a little bit, which was a shame. I'd also think of maybe finding a different way of affixing the top to the bottom. The magnets were a great idea, but I think I could rethink that and come up with a better solution for that. One of the things you might want to keep in mind is that the internal gears work better the more you work with them. So first time out, they're a little bit rough, but as you start working them in there, they do work really well in the end. Well, I hope that inspired you to spread a little kindness this Christmas. And until the next project, keep safe.